Growing up in Wallsend back in the 70s and 80s wasn't very good at all. You had a lot of unemployment. The only work that was going was in the shipbuilding industry, and it was tough. I mean, there was no money. I was a bit of a tearaway in my early years, and I went down a few bad paths. I didn't have a very good relationship with my father. Quite often used to end up in blows, and I used to hate going home because of that. And at the age of 16 I just left home altogether. So my daily plan was just to basically make money however I could, and I didn't care who I upset along the way. I managed to gather myself a bit of a reputation, but this only lasts for so long. There's always people who want to fight you, there's always people who want to try and have one over on you, and it doesn't matter how successful you get, people want to challenge you all the time. When I was in my early 20s, I had an accident where I fell off a roof. I was up to no good. I ended up in hospital, nearly dead. I'd broken nearly all the bones in my body. I shattered my wrist, broke my elbow, my pelvis, all my ribs, punctured my lung. After spending 5 weeks in hospital with just your thoughts and where you are, I realised that I had to make a change in my life. So I discharged myself even though I could barely walk. I was on crutches and I had to go back in a wheelchair. But one of the main things I learned was how precious life is. Life is precious and you only get one chance at life. It doesn't matter how old you are. Once you get that revelation that there's only one life and you've got to make the most of it, and it's not up to anyone else in this world, but it's up to you. No matter what your upbringing is, you have got to make it. But I didn't know what to do. I mean, I didn't have a very good education. I trooned most of the way through school and there was no employment. I eventually travelled. I moved down to Cornwall where I met my wife, and I thought, right, okay, I am going to make a good life, not just for me, but for my children and my wife. And that was the change. I was that desperate I would take any job, and my first job was a cleaner. One of the important things I built in my life was a good work ethic, and I would go that extra mile, and no matter what job I did, whether it was cleaning, whether it was knocking doors, I made sure I put a 100% in. At a very young age I started running an 800-seater conference centre over in Newcastle. Where you're seeing us now is a new business venture I've taken on recently, which is a nice big stately home. And this all come about from a decision I made 20 years ago, and that was to change my life. If I was to go back in time and give myself some advice, my advice to myself would be honest, be hard working and give 100% no matter where you are, go the extra mile. You don't know who's looking at you and thinking, now that's the type of person I need in my business.